Salute to all the diehards. This is Diehard Giants Live, and I am your man. I am Jarrell on all of your socials, Twitter and IG. Um, I was trying to figure out should I have a moment of silence of because of the last game or what, man? Like, mm, 40 to nothing against Dallas, our rival at home. You already know what it is. It was a bad one, but salute to Eru, salute to Steph for joining me on the last broadcast during that monstrosity. And, we got through it, man. We got through it as a family. Everybody had to watch it. So, you just had to catch us live watching it. So, salute to Geraldine in the chat, First Lady always. Salute to you. Hope everything is cool with you. But yeah, salute to Eru and Steph. I don't think they're going to be joining me tonight, but, they'll be here in spirit. So, let's go over the show, and we're going to talk about our next game against the Cardinals, man. Like the New York Giants obviously probably played the worst game of anybody in the NFL last week. But the Cardinals was probably, every media outlet has probably said that they are probably going to be the worst team in the league this year. And they're tanking to get a quarterback. But I don't know about that. But Kyler Murray's hurt, the starting quarterback. So I'm thinking they might be replacing him. And the one veteran quarterback that they had on the roster was Colt McCoy, but they actually dropped him at the end of preseason and they went with Joshua Dobbs. So we're going to talk about all that. We're going to go over the key players for each team on offense and defense. And we're up first. Looking at these numbers, you can already tell this is going to be a short show. It's not really much to say about the game last week. Like I said, we lost 40 to nothing to Dallas. Daniel Jones, 15 for 28 with 104 yards and 2 INTs. One of those INTs was a catch by Saquon Barkley that immediately got hit when he went upfield, popped in the air, and that was a pick six. So, yeah, that's how the game went for us, I should say. And our offensive line was a big part of that. One of the worst offensive line performances I've ever seen. I went back and actually watched this mess 2 more times. So, I'm over it now, though. I got my morning out of the way. Like that was like a death to me. Like it's over. Like it's over. We on the week 2 on the Arizona. As you can see, Saquon Barkley has 12 carries for 51. Had 12 carries for 51 yards. And I actually think he should have had more. I know we got down early, but that was one of the coaching things that I would have done completely differently than Brian Daboll. I know the players have a lot of blame goes with the players, especially the offensive line, preferably the right side with Evan Neal and Mark Lewinsky. Both had terrible games. But Brian Dable and Mike Kafka has a lot to say about that too. Like they should get a lot of the blame. It was one of the worst called games that I've seen in a while, man. Like Brian Dable seemed like they didn't have a plan B at all, plan B or C. And when A didn't work, they just kept trying to drill A in the head of Dallas, and we got killed every time. The stunts killed the offensive line. Micah Parsons had a field day. They lined him up all over the field. And, we actually had 5 fumbles, and they only recovered one of them. Darren Waller, as you can see, only had 3 catches for 36 yards. I got a couple other stats for us that, I didn't even have to put up here. Darius Slayton had 3 catches for 15 yards. Saquon Barkley, with the one drop that he had that ended up being a reception, he still ended up with 3 catches for 12 yards. Isaiah Hodgins was pretty much shut down all game into the fourth quarter, and he caught a long pass for 24 yards, and then he coughed the ball up and fumbled, and Dallas recovered. So it was pretty much bad game all around for us. Like it's nothing to really say positive about us on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, I can honestly say a few key players that was on our defense. The rookie Trey Hawkins had a pretty nice game. especially for a rookie drafted in the 6th round. He had one big pass interference call. Um, yeah, a lot of people say that call is kind of questionable, but he kind of had his arm wrapped around the neck of the wide receiver, and he's not a vet yet. He doesn't know that you might could get away with that in college, but you can't get away with that in the NFL. Whether you impede the wide receiver or not, as long as your arm is up there and anywhere near this area, the ref is going to call it if the ball is in the air by him. So hopefully he'll learn, and Trey Hawkins will be all right, man. But he had 7 tackles. Bobby Okereke, um, our number one linebacker, he had 5 tackles. That's nothing to really call home about. But he didn't really have a bad game himself. Micah Parsons, a lot of this was special teams tackles, but he had 10 of them. He had a pretty good game. My other rookie cornerback, Banks, Deontay Banks, he had a pretty good game as well. He didn't have, I think he had like maybe one or two balls caught on him, and that was it. Like Dallas didn't really have a good game offensively either, but they didn't have to because their defense killed us. Like Dak Prescott, I think he passed for under 150 yards with no touchdowns, no interceptions because we didn't have any takeaways. But Tony Pollard was under 75 yards, I believe. CeeDee Lamb was under 100. I think he had like 75 to 80. I forgot the number, but CeeDee Lamb didn't have a big game. Nobody really had a big game on Dallas on their offensive side of the ball. It was all defense. But this week, we played the Cardinals, and like I said before, a lot of media outlets have the Cardinals as the worst team in the league coming into the NFL this year. And hold on. Yeah, I was just checking the chat. Yeah, the Cardinals are probably going to be the worst team in the league this year, but they had a pretty good game against the Commanders on Sunday. I mean, at least their defense did, but the Commanders are like starting a rookie quarterback by the name of Sam Howell. I think that's probably the reason they probably had a good game. He'll get better during the season, but I don't expect the Cardinals to have more than 4 or 5 wins on the season without their starting quarterback. A couple key offensive players for them is Joshua Dobbs is their starting quarterback now. Joshua Dobbs it's like a journeyman backup quarterback. I think he was drafted by the Steelers. I forgot which round. It was middle round, like 4th or 5th round. And he pretty much been on a carousel of teams ever since then. I think he's played on like 5 or 6 teams since 2017 when he got drafted. So they pretty much got him from, I think, the Cleveland Browns. He was part of the Cleveland Browns last year, and Arizona picked him up like right after preseason for him to start. So that's why a lot of people think Arizona is tanking this year. They're starting running back James Conner. You see, he had 14 carries for 62 yards. I mean, he's a tough runner. Not the kind of talent that Saquon Barkley has, but he's a tough runner, good goal line back. They have a couple other small backs coming out of the backfield that could catch the ball. Hollywood Brown has 3 catches against the Commanders for under 30 yards. So you can already tell that they pretty much had the same type of offensive output that we did. But this was against the Commanders, who has another good defensive line, just like Dallas has. But yeah, that's the Cardinals pretty much in a nutshell. They have another wide receiver by the name of Rondale Moore, but he's a slot receiver. I think he's about 5'8", 5'9", but he's very fast, very quick in and out of his routes. He has good hands, so we would have to. Both of them are going to be checked by rookies, which is Trey Hawkins and Deontay Banks. But I think from a matchup standpoint, like we shouldn't have any problem with the Cardinals, especially their offense. But you never know. After the Dallas game, you never know how shell-shocked our players are going to be. But I actually think that they're going to pretty much throw that game away, and the season starts over already, week 2. For defense, Kazir Wright actually played for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. He wasn't one of their starting linebackers, but he still ended up getting over 100 tackles. Ended up being a free agent, and the Cardinals picked him up to be their starting middle linebacker. So it was good for him. He actually had a good game, 9 tackles, as you could see. The Cardinals have Buda Baker on their team, who is pretty much the leader and the best player on their entire team. He's a Pro Bowl caliber, all pro caliber, strong safety. I think he made all pro a few times. He's one of the best players in the league, top 100, um, voted by his peers on the NFL Network. And I think Buda Baker is going to have a very good season, but he is on a bad defense, so we'll see. And Marco Wilson is one of the young cornerbacks that they have. Like I said, the Cardinals is pretty much a bad team, man. There's nothing really to say about them. That's why this show is probably going to be really, really short. There's nothing to since it's 1 week. None of these stats really count. Um, you only could go by one game. Both of these teams is 1-0, and hopefully the Giants would get off the snide and beat the Cardinals. It's almost like a must-win game for the Giants now, because we actually play the 49ers next week. So we already know how that can go. They have a very good defense, just like Dallas does. They won't be the Cardinals, let's just say that. So, but I don't want to look past the Cardinals, because they still are an NFL team, and we actually do have to play them really hard, because they played the Commanders hard. It was a really, really close game. The Commanders is supposed to be a lot better than them, just like we are, and they took them all the way down to the end of the fourth quarter in order to seal the game. So even though the Cardinals are supposed to be bad, they're nothing to sneeze at. They get paid too, and we're gonna have to go over there and actually win the game. We got to take it from them. A couple of things on social media I got from salute to Jordan Renan. He's a beat writer for the New York Giants. He put up the injury report. Unfortunately, I talked about the line, but I didn't talk about Andrew Thomas. He actually got his hamstring. He had a slight hamstring pull, and it happened actually towards the beginning of the game when the blocked field goal, when it ended up being 16-0, and he actually played most of the game with a slightly, sprained hamstring. So we'll see. He's our best player. He's probably the best player on the team. He actually played the best on the offensive line, even though he was hurt most of the game, until they pulled him in the fourth quarter. So I actually think Andrew Thomas is probably going to skip this game, which is a huge problem for us, because I'm not sure if Matt Peart, who is on the limited side because he had an elbow injury during the Dallas game, I don't know if he's going to play. So we might have Joshua Azudu move from backup guard, to our starting left tackle. We'll see. But we might have another rough game when it comes to the offensive line, man. I don't know what to say. It's kind of like, how you put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. I don't see how, I don't think anybody's going to come off the street and start for us on the offensive line. We pretty much got who we got, and we have to deal with it for the rest of the year. In our review video that I had last week, I said that our offense is going to be the Achilles heel of this team. At least our offensive line, I should say, it's going to be the Achilles heel of this team. And, I hate to say I was right, but it was apparent that the offensive line is going to be the Achilles heel of this team. Daniel Jones signed that contract is not going to mean anything. All of the shiny new weapons that he got is going to mean anything. Can't get the ball to Darren Waller and Jalen Hyatt and Paris Campbell and anybody else if they can't block for him. So I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough year. Just to go real quick over the limited list, Deonte Banks, he was having cramp issues in his calf last game. That's why he was pulled in the fourth quarter against Dallas. So I think he's going to play, but I don't know how limited he will be during the game. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play. Cam Brown, I'm not really sure what happened to his ankle, but he is a big piece for us because of special teams, even though he doesn't start on defense. Cordell Flott, I didn't expect him to actually play because he didn't play last week. So I'm not sure how how hurt that hamstring is. He might miss a couple weeks. Graham Gano, I'm surprised that Graham Gano is actually on the injury report. They didn't say really anything about how he hurt his ankle during that game. The most alarming name on this list is Aziz Ojulari because he actually has a history of being hurt every season. So hopefully we can get at least, the 17 game season, at least get him for like 14 games, man. Like he misses way too many games. Owens is a rookie. That only matters. Him being on the injury report only matters because of special teams. Matt Pert is a big one because if he doesn't play, that's our swing tackle. And if he doesn't play, Joshua Zudu, like I said, will have to be our starting left tackle. Wandale Robinson, he just came off the pup list, so I didn't really expect him to play for the first few weeks of the season anyway. So yeah, it's gonna be. I don't want to say it's gonna be a tough game, but then again, I definitely don't want to say it's gonna be an easy game either, just because of the last game that we had. So yeah, that's all I got, man. Like last week was tough. I know everybody thinking that the season is over. Speaking of the season is over, salute to the Jets. Like they had a close game, actually pulled it out against the Buffalo Bills after Aaron Rodgers got hurt for the year with a torn Achilles. So, anybody else pop up in the chat? So, salute to everybody watching. It was a short show this week. Next week will be a lot longer because we will be playing the 49ers. So their key players is a lot to talk about with them. They have a very, very good defense, probably a top 5 defense in the league, and their offense has a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball too. So subscribe to the channel, salute to everybody, and I'll see y'all next week. No, matter of fact, not next week. I'll be live halftime during the game. So we'll be going through this pain together all week. I'll be on at halftime versus the Cardinals on Sunday. And peace out.